waiting just a second to make sure it's live.
I do the same.
Like, I know, it should be like 3, 2, there it is. Hi everyone, welcome to the after party. I hope you guys are having a wonderful night so far.
Woohoo! I am.
So this is the first ever after party that I'm doing on my channel, but it's like the 1500th that I've been in. I'm often kind of more well known in certain YouTube atheist circles for being someone in after parties than I am for creating my own content, which is actually kind of funny to me.
That is funny.
There's a lot of folks that have been known for that, so it's cool. You're fun.
Yeah. There are people who, and like it's easy for us to think of one specific person who went forever before they made a video, but like there are actually a bunch of people who did that, and like they got started on YouTube appearing on other people's stuff because they were like an expert in real life and they wanted to get started on YouTube, but they didn't like want to hop in right away like into YouTube themselves. They just wanted to be like debaters and stuff. But I am not that. I have always been creating my own content, and it's funny that there are a lot of people who know me because I've been on other people's streams.
It's fun though.
Yeah.
It definitely is. So what did you guys think of today's topic?
I liked it. I like the idea of just like mapping out my personal conflict and then looking at the world's conflict and kind of like putting it into frames like that.
What do you think, Mrs.?
I loved it. Pardon me. I think that there's a lot of negative connotation when you bring up just the word conflict. But really, if it weren't for conflict, we wouldn't have advanced the way we have. It usually leads to some kind of drastic, progressive change. Well, maybe not drastic, but sometimes.
Well, definitely. I mean, if we didn't have conflict, we'd still have kids working in factories.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Without conflict, slavery would literally, like, because people were willing to challenge the status quo, and because people were tired of states enacting injustice, we fought back against a whole bunch of things. And it's easy to think of like probably the most hyperbolic example, which is slavery, but it's also kind of fair in a sense to be like, yeah, conflict and people being willing to look at conflict in a bunch of different ways is responsible for a lot of positive social change.
I think right now we're in the middle of a verbal civil war.
I definitely, like, I don't know if I would say that exact thing, but I can understand where that's coming from. And I definitely don't disagree with
not
the
arms.
idea. Yeah.
I don't want it to get to violence, but I prefer the idea of like maybe in the future we can do the argument thing instead of the who's got the bigger muscles thing.
I think that that's definitely like a positive direction for us to move forward. And also, I honestly kind of appreciate that we are in a sort of verbal state of conflict. I don't appreciate there are parts of it that I don't appreciate, but at the very least, the fact that people are so tired of injustice and the fact that people are so tired of seeing people be oppressed, seeing people be persecuted for a whole bunch of things, oftentimes things that are outside of their control, is something that's genuinely positive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wish there was ways to do things more quickly and with more efficiency, you know. Like the hard thing about social change is that it takes a long time.
It is difficult to like work through that and to see and to be a part of it, especially when it's something that like feels like it should be obvious.
And there's billions of us now. So it's like how do you get people to consent to change or at least acknowledge change when there's so many people to get the message to?
Yeah. One of the nice things about like this particular era in history is that it's entirely possible nowadays for people who objectively in the past would not have been able to send a message out because of a bunch of different institutional reasons, now with things like social media, it's possible for someone who is a small person and someone who doesn't have a platform to write something that goes viral or to create something that goes viral, and then a whole bunch of people see it. And they don't need the same old mediums that they used to need to be able to receive that information, that thing that was created.
Yeah, no more carrier pigeons, right?
Yeah.
One thing, though, that I can't help but think about in terms of conflict and things like that is, like, when you're trying to resolve a conflict diplomatically or verbally, you know, what have you, it seems like one of the biggest obstacles that we face is, like, people not necessarily wanting to talk, you know, like Russia, for example. They're not necessarily wanting to talk about things that go against the oligarch's interest. So, you know, how do you resolve issues like that? Of course, we have the sanctions, which the sanctions have done very little, but there's something. I don't know. I just, I think in a lot of instances, yes, verbal confrontation can solve issues, but sometimes it's just, it's so stubborn. I don't know. It's very complicated, I guess.
I agree.
I think that that's a perspective that makes a lot of sense. I like something that I often wonder is how popular. Hey, Duke, how are you?
What's going on, buddy?
I'm glad that you could join us.
Hey, Duke.
I've been talking with Stephanie all night.
Oh,
Speaking
wow.
of conflict.
Yeah.
So yeah, Stephanie.
No, you know what? She's not. I gotta say, she's been a sweetheart. We've been having a conversation. She's been very genuine. She's been very sweet. It's not going the way I'd like it to go, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Well,
she's sweet. I think she's lying.
Was it about the atheist and foxholes thing?
That's where it started.
Oh.
But it's moved into other places. To be honest, like, I've been very nasty about SJ when she's not been around to defend herself. I actually apologized to her about that because it was not really right for me to do that. So I'm going to try to confine myself to not saying shitty things about her when she's not here.
I don't have such personal rules, thank you.
I think that makes sense. The thing with me that really, like, the only person I've had an extended conversation about SJ/Stephanie with is Inordinate Refraction. And in that, like, I did my best to not be super mean, especially because, like, that was Inordinate's, like, first time seeing something by SJ. But, like, the thing that really worries me is, like, the ways that she kind of went after the artistic atheist. I know nothing about the artistic atheist, but I saw his/their, if that's not their preferred gender pronouns, I don't know. But, like, I saw their tweets about all of that, and that was kind of horrendous, the way Stephanie, like, she wasn't intentionally lying, but she was wrong. And apparently she apologized, but it was still, like, a really atrocious thing.
I was there with him through that.
So let me say it this way. More or less what I said was that I will absolutely attack her ideas with fucking vigor, but I'm going to try my best not to attack her as a person anymore.
Well, I attack her behavior.
Well, and that too. Like, I will attack the behavior. If she puts out something like we should round up all the people from the Sentinelese Island and they should all be held accountable, like, I'm going to attack that because that's genocide. That's just genocide. And there's just no reason for it, right? So I'm going to come after that, but I'm going to refrain from saying things about her personal character moving forward.
Yeah, I'll do that, though. You don't worry.
You can do it.
Have to.
That's fine. That's fine. You do it. You do it, and I won't.
I think it makes sense because I feel like we all have, like, different perspectives on Stephanie. I don't think that she's a bad person. I do think that she, like, does things that are very questionable, and she says things that come from a place of absolute ignorance, like the whole atheist and foxholes thing. A 100% example of
atheists
absolute
and
ignorance.
atheist children are weeds and need to be pulled.
Is that something she said?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
Well, the last thing I got into it was what spurred the conversation I am having with her in DMs right now, which I won't get into because it's in DMs.
No, because that would be awful.
Right, but what spurred the conversation I'm having with her now was she made the statement that she distrusts, or something along the lines of, she distrusts people that say, I used to be a pastor, but now I'm an atheist. To which I responded that once upon a time, I was a devout Christian. And I did, in fact, as a devout Christian, lead 3 confirmed atheists, people that said to me, I am an atheist, I do not believe, to Jesus. And now I don't believe. Right? So, like, I am the quintessential flat out argument against what you just said. Like, it's like there's no point in saying that a person can't change their mind. That's just silly.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't think she can't change her mind. It's just she does not own the statements she makes. She will delete the tweets where she went too far. She doesn't back them up. That to me is something worthy of a personal attack.
The thing that personally frustrates me the most about not necessarily SJ like herself, but like these sorts of like comments that she makes and like the sort of behavior that I've seen, at the very least people who think like her, maybe not necessarily her, engage in, is that like oftentimes these people will talk about atheists without talking to atheists, and then they'll like get surprised. It's like the shocked Pikachu meme. Like, oh, this entire group of people is bad. And then like these people are coming in being like, we're not bad. Why are you talking about us without talking to us? And then they'll be like super surprised. It's a really strange thing. And I've seen people who talk like SJ do it before, but I don't talk to SJ that much. We've had a couple of conversations on Twitter, but I've never engaged with her privately. I don't particularly want to because I feel like there are people who are like nicer than I am, and people who are more capable of like communicating with those sorts of people than I am. I know my skills. I know the sorts of things I can do. I don't have the personality to do that sort of thing effectively.
Well, Luciano, if you remember, your and my one of our earliest interactions was when we were debating SJ on Twitter about the legalization of prostitution.
Yep. That was a while ago. That was like in April of this year, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And we were fighting tooth and nail.
Red Pill Religion, Max Dean Colby.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now that's one that, no. No way would I ever talk to him.
So the thing that's weird, and I'm not going to say anything in like his defense, but it was really odd because he didn't actually disagree. Like, he and I disagree on pretty much everything else. But at the very least, on the legalization of prostitution, he's like, I don't disagree with that. And that was such a weird thing. And it shocked everyone involved because it was me, him, it was Godless Cranium, and then it was Kyle from the Non Sequitur Show. And it was actually Kyle and I.
Yeah.
We didn't really disagree, but like we got into a little bit of a spat over that. And we like each other. Like, we're friends, or we are at least acquaintances. But that was our first interaction. So that was very interesting.
That was an interesting conversation because it was like one of those situations where, holy shit, like Max is actually making
sense.
Cogent,
a little bit.
Making sense. He's actually approaching the conversation reasonably, which is really out of character for him. Like I don't have a lot of respect for Dean Esme and Max Colesby. I just don't. But in that conversation, he actually did come to the table genuinely.
Well, it makes sense,
You know?
though, really, if you think about it. He's part of the red pill ideology or whatever. So, of course, they're going to be like, you know what? This will help these guys. This will really help these guys who can't.
I mean, it's true. Like, it's easy for us to laugh at, and I know that, like, at the very least, somewhat privately, there are going to be people who listen to this conversation later on who chuckle at that comment. But it's true. Like, that's ideologically consistent with that sort of person.
Yeah.
But by way of comparison, like in Luciano, in yours and my conversation with Stephanie and with Eve, like we kept saying, yes, underage prostitution is a problem. Yes, that should be outlawed. Yes, that should be absolutely convicted and prosecuted to the absolute extent of the law. But
if it was legal, it wouldn't happen.
No, but if there were people that are of age that want to be sex workers, that are looking to get into that field, they should be allowed to do so, and safely, and it should be regulated. But the conversation kept going back over and over again to, yes, but minors. And we were saying, we agree with you. And we just couldn't move forward with the conversation because they just kept falling back to that same point.
Yep. That's a typical SJ conversation. Just saying. I mean, I had a good conversation with her about abortion. We didn't agree, but then it was kind of weird because, like, we both came to the same conclusion on whether or not it should be legal. But then the next day, she's tweeting about how it shouldn't be legally allowed.
Right, because she's dishonest.
Yeah, it was totally dishonest to me.
Yeah. I don't know. Did you guys see me shut down Saite Bruggencake today?
Oh man, I'm gonna check that out later. So I saw one of those tweets. I saw one of them. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to see all the others. Today has been a weird-ish day, or for a whole bunch of reasons. Tomorrow I start my internship with the American Humanists. That's like super exciting for me. But I have been kind of running around today because of that. So.
Congrats.
Oh, I shut his ass down.
Good. Honestly, I know a lot of people who will kind of like him, even in the atheist community. I know people who are just like, he's not the worst, like, presuppositionalist out there, but I'm not going to talk negative. I'm not going to be excessively negative, but I've never seen him, one, make a solid argument, just flat out. Like, I know that he probably has, because most people at various points in their lives, especially people who debate for, like, a living, probably have positions where, like, they're just correct. But I've never seen him make a correct statement or a correct position. I would like for someone to prove me wrong about this. I know he probably has. But, like, the only time I've seen him do something positive is the one time I saw him, like, really strongly disagree with SJ, where SJ was saying stuff that wasn't biblical, but was, like, a sort of, it was, like, popular Christianity, but it wasn't biblical. And at some point in the future, when I decide to make more atheistic content, I'm going to talk about, like, the difference between something in, like, pop Christianity and something in, like, biblical Christianity, if that concept makes any sense.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. It does make perfect sense. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The Christian presuppositionalist position is designed to understand truth or to understand the universe. It's designed specifically to exacerbate the conversation and piss people off till they walk away in disgust. Like, it's circular reasoning. It's absolutely begging the question. It's just silly, and you can shut it down anytime you want. All you have to do is have just a simple understanding of epistemology, like what you believe. If you can do that, you can shut them down. And he runs from conversations that do that.
I agree. Like, the one, so I've listened to two of his more famous debates. I listened to him on the radio against Aaron Ra, and I listened to him, I think in Texas, debate Matt Dillahunty. Both times, he's probably a fine person, but honestly, as far as I can tell, he's not a particularly strong debater, especially in formal debates. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are people even in our community who kind of disagree with me on that. That's fine. But like, I've never seen him make a position that actually makes sense. And I know it's out there. I'm willing to bet money that someone can search the internet and find a time when he makes sense. But I have yet to see it.
Yeah, even a broken clock is right twice a day, right?
Yeah, that's true. And on top of that, I mean, like, no, I mean, he doesn't present anything that makes any sense. He just begs the question, and he just exacerbates the conversation. There's nothing about anything he says that is functional logically. It all breaks down the minute you start scrutinizing it. That guy is the anti-poon. The guy sucks. He sucks, man. Slytherin sucks. And normally, I won't even engage him simply because I think he's honest. I think his approach is dishonest, and I think everything about how he approaches the conversation is disingenuous. So 9 times out of 10, I won't even approach him. But it just so happened this day, I said, "Fuck it, let's do it."
How I feel about SJ.
I think that that's fair. Like, but just so that we can talk about fun stuff that doesn't drive us insane. And I think like there are times when we can talk about not fun stuff that does drive us insane, but I think that like I want us to talk about fun stuff. I want us to keep the mood like not necessarily super high, but just like at least a little bit positive. Have you guys seen any videos today that you like really enjoyed? Because I can think of one that I genuinely premiered today. I mentioned it on Twitter, but I really love this video. So I want to hear what you guys saw that you just like really lived for today.
Well, I really liked Mr.
I love Mr. Atheist video.
Oh my god, you guys said it too. That was by far the best video I saw today. Like, if Mr. Atheist had a smaller audience, I would plug the heck out of him, which is a funny sentence. It's going to be taken out of context. But, like...
About to go out.
I love his content. So the thing about me and Mr. Atheist content is like I really liked it when he was first starting out, and then I stopped watching for a while, and then he like blew up. So now like his audience is massive. And when I saw that like he was making a video about gender inclusivity, which is a thing I really care about, like I was super excited. And then when I actually watched it, I was like, all right, I'm gonna become a Patreon. And I actually am a Patreon of his now. So that's neat.
That's awesome.
But yeah, his content is really good. If you guys haven't seen it, we're gonna do what Wonder Lady and I do at the end of like the live streams, and we are going to like endorse channels. In case anyone wants a spoiler, he's one of the channels I'm gonna endorse. But I don't know if that really matters since his audience, like odds are all the people who are subscribed to me are probably subscribed to him. So
I'm subscribed. I'm a fan.
His video was really good though. And like I appreciated that he was willing to admit that there are people in like the YouTube skeptic community. And I say YouTube skeptic as opposed to like YouTube atheist because I feel like they're two very different communities, although there's like a large overlap. He was willing to admit, and this is one of the first times I've heard someone like be explicit about it, that like there are people in the community of people who watch him, and the people who watch him are also many of the same people who watch the content that we make, all of the people on this panel right now. So like he was willing to admit that there are people in that community who have a difficult time for a variety of reasons with using people's preferred pronouns, which is not a big deal. Like if someone has a preferred pronoun, there's no real reason that someone should use to, like there's no real reason that someone could be like, oh yeah, I'm not going to use it. It'd be different if someone like didn't know that they had a preferred pronoun. That's different. But like if someone's like, hey, I'm kind of uncomfortable using that pronoun, can you use a different one? I understand that to a lot of people, like it's kind of inconvenient to do that. That I understand, but that's not a reason to not do it. Just respect people's opinion.
Is I have a friend whose moniker's name is I have a friend whose moniker's name is they. And when I talk about they and what they have said I tend to run into speed bumps because it's very difficult for me to say they without, and it's his name. They is they's name, so they, it's difficult for me, and I try, and I'm not saying I'm not going to try with the pronoun thing, but I'm bound to screw up, and that makes me very unhappy.
I have a quick question. Is Luciano breaking up for everybody or just me?
Oh, am I breaking up? That's
Your
weird.
sound is a little weird tonight.
Huh. Has it? Oh no! Please tell me it wasn't like that during the live stream. Oh, it
Your
sucks.
sound was a little weird tonight.
Damn, that sucks. I'm gonna keep
I was
this
having a
part
hard
of the
time.
weekend when I need like better audio.
Yeah, I think you need
Like
a
you're
global.
breaking up really heavily for me, so I was having a hard time. I was having a hard time understanding what you were saying.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me right now?
Yes.
Tight. So yeah, I was talking about like I understand, and I'm gonna clarify. I understand people like making mistakes when it comes to gender pronouns. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like people who just don't want to use someone's preferred pronouns. Like people who are just like, yeah, I'm not going to do that because, in the words of young genius Ben Shapiro, facts don't care about your feelings. Some like nonsense like that. And I was being very sarcastic. But like,
Yeah, but
someone, sorry.
Ben Shapiro doesn't worry about facts, care about his feelings when he talks about free will or God. You know what I mean? Like he only worries about facts, care about his feelings when it's pertinent to whatever he's saying. And beyond that, well, we're not talking about that. That's a simple. That's a stupid thing to say to begin with, because we're not talking about biological sex. We're talking about gender identity, right? How people identify, right? So it has nothing to do with what's between your legs. You identify how you identify. It's absolutely unnecessary to even go to biological sex at that point, right? Because gender isn't an expression of biological sex; it's an expression of traits that are inherent to who you are, right? So it's perfectly reasonable to be anything you want to be on the gender spectrum, regardless of what's between your legs.
I agree. Like the thing
I mean,
that's done
all of
now.
that's just silly.
The thing that frustrates me about this is that people don't realize that what we're talking about is not the same thing. And also some people just want to be edgy. They just want to hurt people's feelings. They just want a reaction out of people. And that's a really shitty thing to want, you know?
It is, and it's another issue is with this situation is it's easy to get misunderstood. It's really easy to be misunderstood in what you mean when you talk about it, right? So you can be your intention could be to be 100% understanding of the situation, but you can still be misunderstood on it. It's such a volatile conversation that it's hard to approach.
That's fair. And it's easy for people to decide to just like avoid something that they know is not going to be easy to talk about, especially because people are oftentimes rightfully concerned over the reaction that something is going to get. And I understand where it is that people are coming from when they make a decision to not talk about something because they know it's going to be difficult. I talked a little bit about that in my Thanksgiving video where I talked about like keeping Thanksgiving apolitical if you don't feel comfortable talking politics at the like family dinner table. Mm-hmm. And it's important that people feel comfortable discussing whatever it is they want to discuss. And there are going to be topics that are always going to be uncomfortable. But if someone doesn't feel like having a conversation about that, they shouldn't have to. And it's weird that we live in a society that treats people who don't want to have conversations about a certain thing because they don't feel ready to have that conversation as like they have a lesser position. It's weird.
Or that they're hiding something.
But then
Yeah.
again, I have people who tell me that I'm not allowed to curse.
That's also really dumb. We shouldn't tell people. Like, I hope that I don't tell people what to do. I try not to.
Oh, okay. Just to bat this around, and not because it's my position or anything like that, but to bat it around, I've got people who are telling me not to curse, and I've got other people telling me that this pronoun is not, right, or blah 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 blah. It's to the point where, what do you say?
I understand that concern.
What do
That's a
you
good
say?
point.
Because they're both on opposite sides. You're not allowed to say this word. You're not allowed to say this. You must say this. You must not say that. And it's like, people are going to make mistakes. I mean, people are going to curse. I understand it not being okay in like a work setting. But if I'm just having a casual conversation and I drop the F-bomb, and the conversation becomes about the F-bomb rather than what I was saying, I feel demarginalized.
To be honest with, like, I feel like I got misunderstood today. Like, I retweeted Dear Mr. Atheist's video, and I said, "This is a great video by Dear Mr. Atheist." I struggled with similar issues when I first met trans folk. I had no problem using their preferred pronouns, but I found I couldn't empathize with them because I do not identify in outside my sex in terms of gender. I agonized over this for quite some time until I decided I did not need to understand. I simply needed to accept that there were people that identify differently than I do, and their needs are more important than my need to understand. Right? And so, Godless Cranium, and I'm not shouting him out. I'm not like coming at him. I think it was just a misunderstanding. But he said, "I need to understand, but I do. I'll have to watch this later." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You said you realized you didn't need to understand." I did. And I was like, "Oh, no, I didn't mean that. Like, I have an intrinsic need to be able to empathize with people. And I usually can. Even people that disturb me. But I could not empathize with trans folk. I could not find a common ground, and it made me feel terrible. And then I realized it wasn't necessary. I have no basis with which to compare my feelings to their feelings. It bothered me because I was worried I would not be able to genuinely connect with them. But then I realized that I could by simply accepting them without caveat. Like, all it came down to, at least in my perspective, was the ability to say, there are people in this world that feel ways that I don't feel and that I don't understand.
Right.
And that's fine.
Right. That is fine.
I feel like that's a really important realization. I hope that I can be heard. I feel like that's a really important realization that, like, so many people could use. And I'm not even talking about like a specific kind of person. I just mean like people in general could really use the realization that, like, if someone is feeling a certain kind of way, and like in a literal sense, if someone's reacting to something in a way that's different than how you react to it, that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly legitimate. You don't have to understand where they're coming from or how they're feeling for their feelings to be valid.
Right. Well, that's actually the answer I use whenever somebody gives me that bullshit back-assward apology of, "I'm sorry that you feel that way." Like, I hate that fucking statement more than I hate anything in the world. "I'm sorry that you feel that way." Well, I'm not sorry that I feel that way, and how I feel is perfectly valid. Thank you. You know what I mean? Like, I hate that statement, and it makes me crazy. But then on top of that, like, I can actually remember when I came to that decision, right? So I was singing in a LGBTQ choir in Charlotte, North Carolina. I was driving from Charlotte to Columbia, South Carolina, to sing a song for to just do a performance. And the whole way down, like, I had met 3 different trans people and had never met trans people before. And I was going over and over again in my mind, trying to find some common ground, and I couldn't because I don't feel that way. I just don't feel that way. So I couldn't empathize with them. And
Of course you can.
halfway,
They're human.
that's not what I mean. I'm talking about like how they feel about gender. Yes, I can identify with them as humans, and already did, but I couldn't find a place to empathize with them on their feelings on gender because I didn't feel that way.
Okay.
So I'm driving to South Carolina. I'm halfway there, and it just dawned on me. It doesn't matter because they're human.
Right.
They're just other people. And so I don't need to understand why they feel the way they feel. I just need to accept and respect they feel the way they feel and move forward.
I just really hate the whole pronoun thing.
Why?
As I said, I feel like I'm always going to screw it up.
I hope that people
I
like
not on purpose, but I mean, like, I had the, when Mr. Atheist said, grammar and things like that, can't tell you how many times I got swacked with the ruler because I screwed up that grammar. Now I have to undo all that getting hit with the ruler thing.
I'm going to say, like, the one thing I'm going to say about this is that I hope that the people who actually matter in this specific conversation, the people whose genders and whose pronouns are different from, like, they break the binary, so to speak.
Right. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings.
Yeah. Let me. I feel like what I'm going to say makes sense once I've like expressed my full thought. I hope that those people don't make you feel like it's different if you're making a genuine mistake, because I think that that's probably going to happen with a lot of people. I know that I've definitely made mistakes when it comes to the whole gender thing. And I'm someone who's like solidly progressive, I guess, fairly woke, so to speak, on this issue, like especially in the Hispanic community. But I hope that those aren't the people who are making you feel bad. And I know that most of the people to whom this issue really matters would, like, they understand where you're coming from and they understand the sphere that you have. So maybe not the sphere. I don't know if that's the right word, but they understand the struggle that you're worried about having. If
Probably the mode.
like, yeah, this is a thing I'm worried about.
It's probably more like a mode that you're in. At the end of the day, I mean, I personally use they, them, there for anybody that I don't know.
Same.
Yeah, my grandmother would probably hit you with the ruler.
She probably would, but I think Mr. Atheist brought up a great point when he said, and this is true, when you don't know somebody's gender, you automatically default to they, them, there.
But the way I was trained, if you don't know the gender, you always use him.
Well, that's wrong.
That's not incorrect grammatically.
I'm not going to say that that's like wrong, but that's definitely that's what I've heard in Spanish, and like, believe me, I'm probably going to make a video about this because like there are like Hispanic communities and like Latino, Latinx spaces get super heated about this when it comes to the whole like identifying people by gender pronouns that are not he or him, she or hers.
I used to get in trouble for doing the him/her. And when I did that, I was like, well, I'm trying to be inclusive, and I got in trouble. I had to sit in the corner, had to go sit in the hallway, that type of thing. Like, it's pretty well rooted. And now I have to undo all of that.
This would be a very interesting conversation. I think that this would be like a neat conversation to have with like a wider group of people, because I know that like all of us here are like
for younger people who weren't like so strictly like English class, or language class or grammatical, like, that whole argument. But like for some of us, it's like it's in the head, and it's really hard to and I'm not saying, oh, I'm gonna hold on to it because like, oh well, I don't want to be rude or anything like that. I don't want to, like, I heard I saw the video, I think it was on Godless Iowan, where he had Luxander on.
Yeah.
And Luxander was saying things like, you know, the wrong pronoun hurts me. And I'm going, well, I don't want to hurt anybody. But I also get that type of like angry, hurt reaction when I curse. And it's like, but wait, I think cursing's important.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different though.
It is important. It's very important because
we're
it's
making
not what do you call it? It doesn't define the person.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I don't want to define someone's person incorrectly.
Right. It has to do more with, like, when you're swearing, it's just kind of a general thing to your audience. When you're discussing pronouns, this is a very personal, and you're addressing that person. So it becomes about them.
Right. So. Exactly. And it's really hard, though, to undo all that training.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And
training.
I think that there's always been this problem between generations because there's always been a language adaptation.
Right.
So
language evolves. It moves, changes.
And when you're learning language, you learn it when you're very, very young, and when you're cool and things like that. And during teenage years, you're learning all these different ways of using language. But by the time you're like my age, it's already kind of set. So it's a little bit more difficult for people in the older generation to kind of catch up and adapt. But
but we don't mean anything by it if we screw up.
Some people do, though. Some people do it on purpose. They go, oh, because you're not, and all this stuff. They're just stubbornly kind of pushing them away with their language.
Well, that's shameful.
It is.
Yeah. I feel like that's the thing that we're really. So I think that there's like a difference in sort of understanding in this conversation, and I think if we had someone who could explain this a little bit better from like their own personal experiences, and someone who is okay with talking about their own lived experiences, this would be a really neat conversation for us to come back to. But also, I do think that like the way it is right now, we're all people who, at least as far as I know, go by the pronouns that like we sort of present as, like I'm he, him, his. I don't know if you guys are comfortable saying your gender pronouns, but if you are and I'm wrong, please let me know. I don't want to like misgender you. But I do think that like we're all kind of approaching this from different perspectives, because Wonder Lady is approaching this from a perspective of like not wanting to hurt someone, not wanting to cause someone hurt feelings. But the people that we're talking about, and the people that like Jimmy was talking about in this video, are people who are not like that. They are not people who are worried about making mistakes, at the very least, not most of them. The people that he was just like, these people are not doing the nice thing. People are being kind of dickish. Like, those are people who don't care. These are not people who are bothered by causing hurt feelings. So that's a difference.
Those are the people that don't understand gender dysphoria. They don't understand the idea that you can exist in a male body and still identify as a female character. Like
your audio roboted for a second.
The thing is, I think I hate to say it, but I think all those years playing World of Warcraft helped me think of people just being their avatar. You know what I mean? And if you are a different avatar from what I can hear, like I had a friend that I will refer to as her because he played a female. And to me, that female was how I met him before I even heard his voice 3 years later. I can't, it was just that, no matter whose avatar. So I had to get used to new avatars is all. And it's probably going to take a while, and I'm going to make mistakes, and I hope I don't hurt anyone along the way. But when I'm writing a story now, I'm wondering if I should go back and adjust all the pronouns.
You should.
do.
It's a story that you created. Like,
yes, you created a story. The characters in the story have the pronouns that you created them to have, so there's no conflict there at all.
Yeah, but I also feel like I'm not being inclusive.
I understand that sort of inclination, and like there's a part of it. So like for me as an author and as like a writer, like that's something that's very interesting, and I think that's something that's probably more positive than negative, that people want to be inclusive. But I feel like it's, at the very least, if you're an author, it's kind of unnecessary. You should write the
You
universe
think so?
that, like, I'm willing to have a more nuanced conversation about this. And at one point, if the writing group becomes like, we should try to turn the writing group into like a place to have these sorts of conversations. By the way, if you don't know what we're talking about, there's an atheist/skeptic writers group that Wonder Lady and I and Mrs. are all a part of. And if you guys want to join it, let us know. It's a really
I would love to.
Writing.
I would love to. Please shoot me a link.
I'll add you after this live stream because it's a lot of fun. But we talk about like a whole bunch of different writing. And the main thing I'm gonna say is that, like, as long as you are not pursuing some agenda that like dehumanizes people, write the sorts of universes and create the sorts of characters that you want to create.
Check to see if that is plugged in right.
Oh man, my audio is apparently all over the place today.
Oh yeah, that was very strange sounding.
It was.
Jesus Christ, this sucks.
You sounded like a monster.
I was scared. I almost pooped myself.
There's nothing to say that you can't write a story with traditional gender pronouns and it's not inclusive. I mean, you can also write a story with inclusive characters. I mean, like, you can do anything you want with a story that's fictitious. You're not talking about real people at that point. So you're talking about people that you created. So
the characters I make are real people to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm a real... I mean, that's a whole other conversation.
They have feelings.
Well, okay, in fairness, like a lot of writers do feel this way. And like at the very least on writing Twitter, I hope I'm not like sounding like a monster again. But like on writing Twitter, this is like a way that writers actually talk about the characters they create. In case you're wondering why it is I'm holding the microphone this close, because I'm worried that my audio. I like being heard on live streams on my channel. I prefer when people understand.
And we like hearing you.
But yeah, this is like a common way that writers online and on social media refer to their characters. And it's a fun thing to make fun of. As a writer, I sometimes do this myself. And also, as someone who reads other people's writing, I do kind of make fun. I do kind of poke fun at people who do this. Because it's a funny thing to watch when people are referring to like the characters they're creating as like their friends and like they're doing things independently and going on adventures, and the writers are just sort of scribes who describe what they see.
Right. Well, it's a way to explore humanity too. It's a way of conquering an issue or an argument, or even just like exploring a reality that you would like to see, but you know, and going on that adventure, whether it's a horror show or if it's like real, it's you know, if it's not autobiographical, that type of thing. But you know what I mean. But like these things are personal, and the characters you make, and you want people who read it to connect to it. You want them to be able to say that character is a lot like me, or that character symbolizes me. And in order to have that connection, sometimes, I mean, I don't know about you, but I work really hard on my fiction that way.
When I write fiction, I write fiction from the standpoint that the story ends where it ends. I write it completely off the fucking cuff, and the story goes where it goes.
I think that makes like a lot of sense as well. I tend to just sort of like sit down and write whenever I feel like writing. I write on a whole bunch of different websites, but I always write, so far, 99.9% of the accounts I have that are just writing accounts, I use my name in. And like I have fun.
You're so brave.
I just sort of update. That's funny to me for a whole bunch of different reasons that you say that in this specific context. I write a whole bunch of different genres, which is, I guess, kind of a hint as to why this is funny to me. But yeah, like, you can find my writing if you just Google, like, Luciano writes. You can find my writing all over. And my stories are always incomplete, but the way I justify that to myself is, like, I write stories that are living. I just write whenever I feel like writing, whenever the stories have happened in my head.
Right. So, like, yeah, that's the same thing I'm talking about. Like, when I start writing, I just let the story go where it goes. I let my imagination go, and I let the story go where it ends up. You know what I mean? It can end anywhere. Wherever it ends is where it ends. Like, I don't have a plan.
I write the end first, and then I go on the journey.
I think that makes sense. Like, I understand why it is some people are more comfortable doing that and then just sort of like working, not even necessarily working backwards, just starting at the end point and then going back and filling in the details that lead them there.
Right.
That would drive me crazy.
Well, it's like epic poetry.
Yeah.
That would drive me crazy.
I don't provide the audience with the ending first. I write that way, though.
No, but I understand, and that's fascinating. But it would drive me crazy to try to write that way.
Have you ever tried it?
Yes, and it failed.
Aww.
It failed.
I'm sorry to hear that, but that is funny.
I write in the moment, right? So, like, the last thing I wrote was a poem for a friend of mine, and I was sitting at the window, and I looked out, and I saw the sun shining through the leaves, and shining off the foliage, and it inspired me to write something, so I wrote. And I posted it on Twitter, and that's how I write. The only thing, like, very rarely do I write structuredly. Like, if you read the poem I wrote, it's called Dinner. It's on my blog. That was something I actually had something to say, and I said it in the poem. Most of the time, I just write. I take it one line at a time, and I write one line at a time. If I'm writing a story, I have an overall idea of what I want to say or what I want to happen, and then I just let the story evolve as I'm writing it.
Now, I am gonna be, I guess, a little bit of a hard ass about the hour-long rule. Although we're probably gonna stay in and chat a little bit after the live stream ends, but I don't want to take up too much of my pals' nights. So I'm going to ask folks to endorse the channel. If you can't endorse one off the top of your head, that's fine. But if you have a channel that you're really liking, even if it's a channel with a huge audience, just be like, hey, this is a channel I'm watching. I hope you guys watch it too.
Okay.
Wants to go first? I can definitely go first if no one else wants to.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Duke.
I'm going to endorse Neil, the 604 atheist. He's a great dude. He's a sweetheart. He's a great guy. He's got a great heart. He's here for everybody. He's great for the community. He's making great content.
He does make really solid content. I'm going to go back in later, and I'm going to put comments with each of the channels that are endorsed. So don't worry about putting them in right now, especially because not everyone who's going to be in the after parties is a moderator, because not everyone who's in the after parties is super in the chats. Some folks don't always like being in the chat section. But I will go back and make people moderators who want to be moderators. So if you guys like being able to share links, let me know.
I put my rec in. It's Lily.
Lily is going to be on my channel this weekend. Lily is amazing. I cannot more strongly recommend that people go check out Lily Cuervo Logic. The channel is so good. She deserves so many more subscribers.
I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I heard about her through Faye and shouted her out and told her, I actually sent her a DM that was like, you should put your channel name in your Twitter description so people can find it easier.
Mrs., do you have someone you want to endorse? You could always endorse yourself. Oh, by the way, you can endorse yourself. If that's the thing you guys want to do if you're making
endorse
lit content. You can. I mean, people are already here, but if you do want to, that'd make me happy.
Actually, like, I definitely want people to subscribe to you. That is like priority number one. But you said you wanted me to plug a channel I've been watching a lot of, and I'm gonna have to go with Philosophy Tube.
I've been watching his stuff too. That's awesome.
God, I love Oliver. He's amazing. Did you see the meditation one?
Okay, so the meditation one, from my understanding, is the Asmir for a Revolution. Yeah. No, thank you. I don't watch Asmir, but I've seen all of his other videos. I can't stand ASMR. I just can't do it.
I understand, but it's hilarious.
I'm probably gonna give it a watch. I just haven't seen it.
Oh my God, the anti-fascist kittens and the revolutionary daddies. Oh my God, I busted out laughing. Oh, it was amazing.
One of my favorite videos, actually, he has two of my favorite videos of all time. He has the like witchcraft and like gender one, which was one of his more recent ones, and then he has like the getting security back to normal. And I'm butchering these video titles, but both of these videos are kind of amazing. And like in my mind of minds, like I guess in my heart of hearts, those are the sorts of content that I'd want to make one day.
Yeah.
But like that's not my style at all, and I know better. Like I want to experiment with that style, but like I like the style of videos I make now, even if my videos aren't like super artsy or whatever. I like doing what I do.
Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of wonderful things to say, and I've learned a lot from you. So keep up what you're doing, and like, eventually you'll have better audio, better equipment, yada yada, bells and whistles. But your content at its heart is amazing.
Yeah, it's really good. Just be yourself.
Yeah. So I did want to ask you, did you see the Rocket Man one?
I don't know if I have. I haven't. Okay, so I started watching those videos very recently. Like those videos and Peter Coffin's are like, so I guess like I started getting really into lefty tube as a lefty myself very recently, like in the last month or so. So I haven't seen like a whole bunch of the older videos by those sorts of creators.
3 Arrows is another good one, but
people keep saying 3 Arrows. I'm probably gonna check out one of their videos today after I get off the phone. Yeah, so that's
I'm gonna quit plugging now.
You know what? I'm gonna throw one more out. David Lindau.
Okay, that's a name I haven't heard before, so that's one I'm gonna have to go check out.
Uncompelled Believer.
Oh, okay.
That's his Twitter handle, isn't it? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I think that's the Twitter handle and the YouTube
channel.
Name. Yeah.
Is that his channel also?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's both, because I know I'm followed by Uncompelled Believer on Twitter. I don't know about YouTube, but on Twitter I am.
No, it is on YouTube as well.
Oh, okay.
His channel is amazing.
I've only seen one of his videos. I need to sit down and see more. Like, there are a whole bunch of like YouTube atheist folks that I interact with on Twitter regularly, but I haven't started watching their videos. I'm gonna try to change that soon. I'm gonna start getting more into that.
He's pushing the limits. He's pushing the limits.
So the channel that I'm going to plug is, I've already done this one on Wonder Lady's channel, but this is one of my favorite channels of all time. ContraPoints. ContraPoints is a queen. I stan her. I am a fan of Tabby. I'm a fan of the whole thing, to be honest. Just the whole channel.
Bash.
I like ContraPoints a lot.
ContraPoints' videos and video style was directly the inspiration for my favorite video that I've ever made, which was the asexuality video. And I've mentioned this before, but like it was directly because of ContraPoints that I decided to experiment with that sort of style. And I've done other videos like that since then, but they're rare because like I don't feel like that's how I present content. And that's fine. But there are things that are fun enough that I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to create a fun video about this topic.
Oh god, her videos on the what's that guy, the Scandinavian guy that's
The
like a
golden
white
one.
nationalist? The golden
The
one.
golden
Oh
one.
god.
Oh my god.
Her videos on the golden one are fucking fantastic. And then she had the video, like I can't remember what it was, but like there was she had the character with the vampire face and the baseball bat where she was threatening the crowd.
That's Tabby. That's the character we're
Yes,
talking about.
Tabby.
Emily.
Oh
I
god,
love
so
Tabby.
so good. I absolutely I love ContraPoint.
Tabby is a queer icon, and that's actually a reference. That's a direct reference to one of her videos. I'm not just randomly saying that. That was something that she was talking about, like the importance of like embracing yourself in one of the videos on like the importance of like gender, and it's actually a video I was thinking of earlier. I'll link it in the comments down below after the conversation's over. So that way people can go and see it, because it's a really, really good video that makes a whole bunch of good points.
Who is
It
the
does, it does.
philosophically godless person? Like I recognize the face. I don't know who this guy is. I think he's a troll.
Hi.
Is there a butt plug goblin in the chat?
Wonder Lady, it's your turn to endorse somebody.
Oh, I endorsed Lily.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's more people
Double
I
endorse,
could
double
endorse,
endorse
but
Lily.
I think Lily. Well, Lily doesn't have a lot of people on Twitter. I raised her follower count by 50 this week, and she's still only at like 111. I think she deserves. What the hell are you doing?
No. I was wondering where that was coming from. I was like, is that coming from my end? And then I saw like a little audio thing.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
I'm just gonna not say what that sounded like. Anyway.
Fap, 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 fap.
Yes.
I was warming my hands up. Thank you. It's cold.
There's more people that I could actually shout out, but because Lily is, I think, under-subbed and under-followed, I'm just gonna keep it at Lily right now.
But like, it's something that's really funny is like all of us here and a whole bunch of us in the community have a ton of like followers on other social media, but then we don't have that many followers on, like we don't have that many subscribers. Lily, unfortunately, doesn't have that many on either, and she deserves so many more on both. I'm excited to have her on my channel. I don't know what day of the weekend it's going to be yet. We haven't ironed that out, but I am going to be messaging her tomorrow, and I'm going to be asking what day she prefers, and then I'll be scheduling and announcing that. But that's going to be a super fun chat. I'm super excited to have her on my channel. She is fantastic.
She really is.
But yeah, we're going to go ahead and close out the stream. This has been a super fun live stream, you guys. I'm super happy that this was the first after party we had on my channel. It's fascinating to me to be doing this sort of stuff, because even now I'm still like super nervous. But I love being able to have an audience that genuinely enjoys the sort of content that I make, and that people want to be involved in the community that I'm creating. So thank you so much, whether you're here in the actual Google Hangout or you're in the chat. I appreciate you guys so much, and I can't wait until I upload my next video.
Yay.
Absolutely.